Hey everyone, happy Thursday. Welcome to a very special edition of the Killer Comic Show. Now, every 2 weeks we have myself, we have Andy from Perpetual Comics, we have Ben from Attention Seeking Geek, and we have the one and only Tom from Not Quite Min. So I'm going to get these guys on, but we also have a very special guest that will be joining us shortly. So Ben, how you doing, mate?
Am I not a special guest? I'm confused.
No, you're gonna come on first. So I'm just gonna bring you on. So how are you?
Okay, I'm all right. I'm very, very excited actually, and you'll have to excuse me if I flush red and my voice goes high pitched because I'm kind of fangirling out a little bit with the guests that we have coming on. I'm extremely excited.
I'm naturally red, so I don't think I could go any redder. So that's kind of to my benefit. So
yeah, you can't fake
No.
that tan.
I can't. No, I can't. And on that note, Tom, how you doing, mate?
What's up, YouTube? How are we, boys?
How are we?
So, Ben, you just got a bit flustered because I'm coming on, mate. Oh, that's really
No, I got over your artwork a long time ago.
Oh, crush.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, this is, you know me, guys. I'm a big Marvel fanboy, so this is big.
Well, I think I know. I know he's very busy at the moment, so I think we should just get him on. But before that, I think we should just play a little intro. Welcome, David. How are you, sir?
Hey, how are you guys? I love
very,
that
very good.
Thank
you very much.
On Instagram this morning, you had to share that immediately. Appreciate the effort. Thank you for doing that.
Honestly, I've been speaking to Tom about how to use After Effects and stuff, and I kind of had a few free hours and stuff, and then I cracked on and done it. So thank you for letting me take the pictures off your website and use it.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, he's gone.
That was it. That's his work done. And now we take over the interview, apparently.
Brilliant.
It's exciting to have you on, David. It really is. You might have heard me gushing about you just then, very shamelessly, it's got to be said. But we are big fans. And the man next to me is kind of the portal to getting your work here in the UK at the moment.
You guys are killing it over there. There have been so many times when I put up one of these exclusive covers and I would get nothing but sadness from European fans and UK fans in particular wanting these books, and that you guys have made them available. Thank you. That's huge. I personally went and wrote back to people who had said they were sad they couldn't get the book yesterday and said, "Hey, guess what? I just found out there are people who are selling them. Go to these sites right now."
Oh, that's really nice, mate. I appreciate that. I mean,
of course,
your books are I think 5 of them are in our top 10 sellers. From your Gwenham's, the one behind Ben, the Strange Academy one. They are stunning. Your character ones are probably my favorites personally as well, and I think they're beautiful.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, they've been extremely popular for us. For me, it's done really well. I just started working with Unknown Comics, I want to say maybe a year and a half ago. I think we're at 22, 23 covers by now. So the time has really flown by. We've tried lots of different things. They've all been, pretty successful, but these we call them color bleed covers because the background color spills right into the figure. Those have been on another level. People really seem to like them, and my theory about why that is just because they just feel maybe a little more iconic. Maybe you could imagine them on a T-shirt or something like that. They're very all-purpose. I think that's maybe what people are responding to.
I think it's
frameability. I like to call it frameability. Yeah. I think they're very bold. They're very kind of the character pops. And Charlie's going to ask you all of these. Like he's been comprising about 30 questions for you for the last 2 weeks. But what I need to know is what color bleed covers are coming up, because I can send you a list of 20 ideas, David.
Ben, if you haven't seen, it'll be on Not Quite Mint tomorrow, but if you haven't seen the drop today, you're gonna love it. Absolutely love it. It's a Hellions one. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Is that speaking of Psylocke?
I'm looking forward to that.
we had been doing, we started with Scarlet Witch. That proved to be really successful. And then it worked out that we could do a 3-issue series of Spider-Man characters. So just finished that. And now we're starting X-Men. So look forward to more X-Men in the future. I think Darren over at Unknown Comics has a plan of who he wants to see, but there's no bigger X-Men fan on Earth than Darren.
Amazing.
I love obscure kind of, the lesser known mutants, and I'm a big fan of Quentin Quire. Just saying, pink cover, Quentin Quire.
Pink cover with Quentin Quire would be very
cool.
Ben's been talking about this for a few days, so he had to get that question out.
Yeah. That's it. That's all the questions I've prepared. I can sleep easy now.
There's going to be X-Men for sure, and there's the one I'm working on right now is a huge left field surprise, but I think it will be very exciting for people. No one will expect it. Character I've never drawn before in my life, but a huge A-list Marvel character. So stay tuned for that.
Oh wow!
Amazing. Such a tease, David.
Yeah. Hopefully Tom can get this on Not Quite Mint, because we are quite limited to the selection of amazing covers that you've got based over in the US. So to have Not Quite Mint and have that partnership with selling them, it kind of opens it up, which is great. So I guess we got a few people in the chat, and I guess the whole thing around this is just to find out how it all started for you. Like, when did you kind of begin finding your way in the artistry and everything like that? Did it start at a young age when you was at school and stuff like that?
Yeah, I guess so. My mom would tell you that I was just drawing for fun, pretty much from birth, and it's kind of, when you have a kid like that, it's kind of about finding an outlet for them. Mm-hmm. And none of my family is really artistic, so for me it was bouncing around from trying to draw Sunday comic strips to 8-bit Nintendo video game characters when that happened, but there was really no path for that. Mm-hmm. All those games were made in Japan when they first came out. So then I got sucked into comics because that was approachable. That was made in the country I lived in. I could imagine maybe doing that someday. And as I did that, I kind of fell more and more in love with that medium. And even after going off for about 12 years into video games, I still had that love. And even 5 years into that 12-year detour, I was starting to do this. I'd come home at night and pick up comics just for fun and be doing cover art for fun just because I missed it. And now, about 3 years into full-time freelance, just because that's, I guess, where I probably was always destined to be and wanted to be. So I guess that catches you up on
that's pretty cool. I've got a very similar background to yourself in the whole, just drawing literally constantly my whole life. That's really interesting to hear that you were doing 8-bit characters yourself. That's actually how I started to draw.
Yeah.
How did the logo come about, David? Your kind of now iconic, signature logo. How did that come about?
Well, for the longest time, if you look back at my old covers, even some old Marvel covers, I signed it kind of almost like a copy of Frank Cho's thing where there's D, N, and then dots on the side. And I realized it sucked. And, I had been through enough advertising classes in college that I knew I needed something better. So I thought about it for a while and thought about how Adam Hughes and Joe Madureira and people like that, their names just sort of had a built-in, the abbreviation of their name spelled something and had that extra level of meaning. And I thought to myself, well, I have that too. Why am I not using that? And it had... the timing was perfect because Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning, who used to be known as D&A, had broken up and stopped using that. And I'm like, well, okay, here we go. Now I'm DNA, and how do I make that look cool? And so that's how I got to it. But
so you basically stole the idea then, David. You stole the idea.
Blatantly. Totally ripped them off.
Now it's yours, though. You need to trademark that, all right? You've got to get copyright on that.
I figure since it's my own name, it's probably safe, but...
Okay. Yeah.
Don't be so sure in this day and age, David. I really wouldn't be. So obviously you've done comic book covers, you've done magazine covers, you've done computer game covers and stuff like that. You mentioned that one of your influences was playing computer games or reading comics. Is there anyone that you looked up to and that is still around now that kind of influenced you in the way that you draw?
Artistic
pointing to yourself, so I'm assuming you've
inspirations. Yeah, you know what? I got into comics specifically because of Jim Lee. You know, when I saw that first come out, I'm like, God damn, that's amazing. I did not know comics could look like that. I'm in. Like not just like into comics as a reader, but also now I want to be an artist. So it was like there was like we were talking before about where do you come from as an artist? How do you get started? Well, that was the thing I was waiting for my whole life. When I saw that, it became crystal clear to me what path I was supposed to be walking. And so Jim Lee was a big deal, really big deal for me, life-changing. Once I got more, more experience with comics, looking around at what other artists had done, I got really into guys like Adam Hughes and later J. Scott Campbell, and who's amazing.
You've actually partnered with him, haven't you? For a
that segues into a different story.
You're basically listing all of my favorite artists. Can I say?
Well, they're the best, there's a reason these amazing artists have such huge followings and, have inspired so many of us. So I guess those have been the major ones. The other thing that has really influenced my work is when I did do that 12-year detour through video games, I sort of had to learn really, really quick how to color, because in comics, you can get by just doing pencil artwork and other people come in and color it. But that's not a thing in video games. They expect you to create fully finished artwork. So very quickly, I had to learn how to work in color. And, I was looking at how that work is done in video games, and particularly like what the artists are doing in South Korea. Like, it's unbelievable how good they are at digital painting over there. And I think that would be the fourth leg of what inspires me.
It is great. And it must be. There's so many challenging aspects of being an artist involved in like comic books and stuff like that. But I mean, during this situation that we're in now, being in lockdown, I guess it's kind of not that much different from you. I guess when you're focusing on a project, you'd kind of lock yourself away for hours on end to perfect what you're doing. So I guess you haven't really seen any change within your work routine.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. If anything, this has been an unusually busy year. It might be the unknown comics coming into the equation and that sort of thing, but I've been really fortunate. I know a lot of people who have suffered during the pandemic, but for me, really luckily, I've had more cool assignments this year than ever. So thank you, art gods, for that.
It's because you're smashing it. That's why.
Yeah.
The people who haven't had a good year are rubbish. That's why.
Hey,
I like your thinking.
Do you know what I think a big thing is at the moment is where everyone's been in lockdown, social media's played a massive part of it. So artists like yourself have kind of grabbed the ball by the horns and are really using that as an elevation platform to kind of be more interactive. Like you, for one, are probably one of the most interactive artists on social media. Like any post that goes up, you're really quick to respond, and it gives us like normal beings like a sense of it's great to normal beings. I sound like I'm from a higher power or something.
I was going to say, excuse me, what does that make David?
Yeah. Normal beings.
I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I totally know what you mean. I feel like, the age we're living in right now, that's a big part of the story, like connecting with fans. We can't go to Comic Cons, so it's even more important than ever to do it over social media. And I mean, how cool is that, right? Like you're interested in something, and then that person will write back to you. I think that's wonderful. Like if I did that to an actor I liked or another artist I liked and had them come back to me, I would love it. So I feel like that's the least I can do, especially for people who are spending the not insignificant amount of money to buy the books, right? They're not cheap necessarily. So the least I can do is say thank you for that. And even if someone isn't buying the books, it's just the way these algorithms work, right? Like if people are making comments and you're responding to it, Instagram loves that. Instagram will help you help yourself. It shares you even more. So there are many good reasons to be interactive and to push the marketing side of things in this day and age.
And you recently hit a milestone on Instagram, so congratulations for that.
Yay!
Yeah.
Woo woo woo!
Glad someone's doing well on it.
Yeah. David, as one of those people that you've reached out to by like just chatting on Instagram, it does mean a hell of a lot to the fans when you respond. I mean, it's a really nice thing to get in your inbox that an artist that you admire has come back to you and started talking to you, because you do it a few times and you don't get a response. When you do, it means a hell of a lot. It really does. So yeah, cheers for that.
Oh,
I can vouch. I can vouch. I was one of those guys that I think I've made a couple of posts about yourself, celebrating your work, and you know, it sounds sad, but it is that interaction with, you know, someone who's involved in, you know, for us, you know, comic books are so much more than, you know, it's a way of life, you know, when you're this kind of intense being a geek, you know. So when someone does, you know, like your comment or comment back or whatever, who is involved in, you know, work that you admire so much, it does mean a lot. And as you say, I mean, I'm a big Comic Con goer myself, so I've really missed just those quick, you know, even sometimes you're pushed through, you know, like cattle. But even that one handshake, you know, with whoever it is you're meeting, and that one kind of moment, as impersonal as it may be, you know, it's something that is greatly missed. So yeah, no, good on you. I mean, you can't keep it up. Let's be honest. The bigger you get, you know, there's going to be a point where you can't talk to everyone. But you know, the effort that you put in at the moment is greatly appreciated, Dave.
Oh, it's definitely my pleasure. You know, when you're an artist, you're sitting here alone at your table, you know, pretty much all the time. So if you, I think I, like you, am a very huge comic book fan and a fan of conventions, and I love talking about this stuff. So when people, you know, drop by my page and leave a note about their favorite character or something, that's fun for me. I love talking about comics and cool X-Men characters and who's your favorite Spider-Man writer or whatever it is. You know, that's just what I'm into anyway. So
do you ever feel the other side of it, like the pressure? Because obviously, you know, this work is through the House of Mouse now. You know, do you ever feel that kind of pressure, or that you know, do you ever get like negative kind of reactions because of, you know, these characters meaning so much to people? How do you deal with that side of stuff, or do you not get it?
You know, it's never felt negative to me. I've always felt like, you know, the kind of art I'm into is very mainstream, commercial. You know, I looked at all these characters and creators growing up, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. So I'm doing my own version of it now, but it's not like I need to make them R-rated or unpalatable or super different from, you know, like sometimes maybe you're getting at like people talking about not safe for work stuff. I'm not really into that. Or I want to portray the characters classically, like the way they have been, bring them up to modern art standards. You know, like we have such improved coloring now over what existed just a couple of decades ago. There's this huge like open frontier of what you can create artistically. Like just look at the quality of the covers, right? How many covers are painted now compared to, you know, even in the 90s. So that's where I'm excited about it. And I never feel like I have to compromise my vision or do something weird, never feel hemmed in by Marvel or Disney or anything like that. In fact, ironically, you would think that the bigger the company, the more notes, right? Like the harder it would be to get something past the censors or anything like that. In fact, shockingly, Marvel is the easiest of all the companies I've ever had to work for. I rarely get notes. When I get them, they're good ones. I'm like, you're right, that would be better if I did it that way. Sometimes smaller companies and some of the bigger ones have gotten much more on my case. You know, you wonder why they hired you sometimes in the first place. Like, presumably they hired you to do what you do, and then they go and they deconstruct it after you're done. Why?
I can feel that pain.
I mean, talking about that, have you found as you've gone on and progressed in your career that your revision has become a lot less? Like your revision of your art and stuff like that?
If you mean like what I'm personally looking for myself, I would say there's always this huge internal pressure to continue to get better. because there's always going to be someone better than you when you look around. There are definitely artists out there. I'm like, I don't know how they did that. They do expressions better than me. Their lighting is better than me. So it's very clear to me like where I can continue to improve, and I push myself that way. I also feel like now that we have things like Instagram where they can tell you, they have these little histograms that tell you like you're getting the most interest here, but not here. Like I know exactly what the fans like and what they don't like in a way that I didn't before, and that helps me push myself forward artistically. And I feel like if I'm getting anywhere right now, it's because of all those things. It's like the internal pressure and then the data from Instagram, like combine all those things, that's pushing me in a certain direction artistically. And I think it's working. I think it's like the art that I'm making now is so much stronger than 2 years ago. But to answer your original question, I don't feel like it's let up. I feel like that there's always the push to get better.
I mean, there's a few questions, if you don't mind. I've got a few in the chat. So leading on from you saying you was drawing about your art, your characters progressing, really want to feel one-on-one with them. TP Collector said, any character team you haven't done yet that you really want to do?
Great question. The one that pops into my mind right away, like on the Marvel side, would be Avengers. I've done quite a bit of X-Men stuff, and I will never get tired of X-Men. They're the reason I got into this. They're my favorite characters. I never get tired of that. But I really haven't done that much with the Avengers, like just a couple of covers here and there. But like all of us, we're really into Avengers, especially in the last 10 years. So, and Cap remains my favorite superhero. If I had to pick one, it's Cap, just because he's such a pure vision of the superhero. And I just find him so cool, especially cinematically. I've always wanted to like take that, like the way he feels to me cinematically, and do the comic version of that. Anyway, so I would say Avengers. On the DC side, I haven't done that much DC. So almost all of that would be new and fresh for me. I've done a little bit here and there with Superman and Batman characters, but really not that much. So there's that.
So
I think your style would like really suit. And I'm not just saying it because I'm a massive Batman fan, but would really suit that kind of, because I think your style's it's almost like a polished Saturday morning cartoon from back when we were kids. And,
I like that.
Especially with the throwback kind of X-Men figure, artwork that you're doing and things like that. So I think, like the vast array of Batman villains, in that kind of style, I think would be really great. So obviously DC are watching, so get in touch with David, guys. Come on, pull your finger out.
Did you guys see the serial covers that we did with the DC villains? I did.
Yes,
they're amazing.
I'm a massive Harley Quinn fan. I'm a massive Harley Quinn fan, so that one was right up there for me.
Yeah, they were really cool.
What we just spoke about kind of leads on to the next question, was who's your favorite character to work on? So I guess that would be Captain America.
He's the character that I've worked on the least, that I have so much more to say about. So he'd be up there, but I've only really drawn him on like 1 or 2 covers ever.
That one you've just done recently for the Mecha one, Avenger Strikes. Yeah. That is really cool. But I think you can tell that he's one of your favorite characters, because that particular piece has got a lot of character in it. And I think you can tell that you've not necessarily put more effort in, but you can see that it's something you were passionate about doing, which is pretty cool.
Thank you for noticing. I did feel that way while I was doing it. And you can also tell just by the choice of what I chose to draw. The assignment was just, hey, draw us an Avengers Mech Strike cover. And that could have been anything. That could have been like all of them. That could have been just the Hulk one. That could have been, I could have framed that in any which way I wanted to. But what did I actually choose? Cap.
I love it.
It says something about where my heart's at. So, but that was a purposeful decision. Like if I had drawn every single mech in there, it would have killed me. Number one. And I don't think it would have been as impactful a cover. Having focused on cover art for many years at this point, I feel like I know what really pops on the stand, and it's not always like cramming in more. That's not necessarily the best cover to pop.
This is an example of how less is more sometimes.
Absolutely.
And if when people are really passionate about a character, to get a cover like that is so special. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like I want like 20 of those just from my hand selected favorite characters, because it really puts them, you know, forefront. There's no distractions, there's no, you know, stuff going on around them. So yeah, less is more. I should probably tell myself that with my YouTube channel, but
same.
But David, with the covers like that, do you still, is it all digital for you, or are you still using some of like the old school pen and paper techniques?
It's a mix. It depends on the cover. If it's going to be something that is tricky and difficult and multi-layered and would be difficult to pull off traditionally, chances are I'll do it digitally. But if it's a single figure, you know, I have enough confidence in my own hand techniques that I might do it as a you know, a traditional first. Then I scan it in and do a little polish in digital. So for example, the that Scarlet Witch cover exists as an original. I got it over here on my printer, actually.
I'll send you my address after the
Darren, I'm sending it to Darren, sadly, but do you want to see it real quick before I do?
Yeah,
That'd be great.
Happy
It'll
day.
be gone for half an hour now.
Yeah, he's got to go in and wrap it.
We've ruined it.
If anyone's tuning in right now, they're like, "What did they say?"
Oh wow! Yes.
So this exists as an original. You can see I changed things in digital to make that red kind of flow through the whole image more. But sure enough, there it is. There's the real original that it was drawn on. So sometimes I'll do that.
That's incredible. I love that.
Thanks.
That's so nice.
Are you enjoying the series? Just side note, are you enjoying WandaVision?
WandaVision, the television series? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, like those first 2 episodes, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work if they do 7 episodes of this. But that right from the first episode, they were feeding in their larger plan. And as we go on, and it ties more into the real Marvel universe, and we understand what they were up to in those first episodes, now the context makes sense, and I'm fully on board. But for just a second, I was like, I don't know if I want to watch I Love Lucy for 5 episodes.
I'm totally with you, mate. That's exactly how I felt about the first two episodes. I was a little bit like, You
can only deal with so much canned laughter, I think.
Yeah.
Well, they knew what they were up to, and I noticed also that they put 2 episodes up right from the start, which is an unusual move, and they did that, I'm sure, because of this reaction, right? They knew that if you went 2 weeks and that's what you were getting, there would be some questioning, but they smartly got that stuff out and got us to the 3rd episode very quickly, and now everyone's on board and they're killing it. So they know what they're doing over there.
Right, definitely. And another person in the chat has asked, is there a website we can use to get the original art or commissions from?
Well, thank you for asking. Firehawk 2069. So the deal is, when I do originals, they are all offered up through Kirby's Comic Art, which is a UK-based original art sales team. They are amazing at what they do, and I make all of the originals that I do that, you know, Darren doesn't snap up available through Kirby's. That's where you should be watching if you want to get a shot at one of my originals. They go very fast. I wish I could do a little bit more, but that's where we are right now. I imagine more and more will happen over time as I get better at it, and you know, more opportunities come up. But watch Kirby's is the short answer. Commissions are tough right now. Like I've always found, even before the pandemic, that they're incredibly distracting. Like you can use an entire day doing commissions and then you fall behind on the regular deadlines, and that's no good for anybody. So my rule for myself, just to make things work, is no commissions at home. But now we're in this year where I'm always at home. So I don't know. I think it's just gonna require comic shows to come back. That's where I can really get those done. I can concentrate on them. No one's bugging me for a cover or anything like that. So sadly, for now, probably not possible to do commissions, but I cannot wait for shows to come back and be able to do those for people again. And I always keep them very low cost. You know, if these covers sell in the thousands, I only charge a few hundred for the full color commissions at cons, because I know that not everyone can, you know, buy the full cover. And the point is to make it possible for any fan to connect with me and the artwork and have a piece for themselves at a reasonable cost. So yeah, that's what I'm waiting for to come back, those cons, and be able to do that.
That's a lovely thing to hear, what you've just said about making it accessible for people, because a lot of artists don't, which is really nice that you do that.
I try.
Tell J. Scott Campbell that. Oh,
I feel bad
I'm joking. I love his stuff. That's why I'm bitter, because I can't afford it.
He's so cool.
He's the sweetest, nicest guy, and he's trying so hard. He's tried to do the quickies and things like that, but he's just too popular. It's just impossible for him to meet the demand that he has. And so I don't know what else you would do at that level of popularity, but what he does, which is he just says, I can't basically do it unless we're doing a charity thing or something. Whatever his plan is, I feel like it's all you could do.
I don't think you're far off that, mate.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Kind of brings me to the question I was going to ask you, David. Like, how did it come about that you and J. Scott did that commission together? I mean, that is a wonderful piece, and it went for ridiculous money, but incredible that you did that. I mean, how did that come about?
Do we have this?
Oh, you guys are awesome. This is great.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, this was equally as amazing for me. You have to understand that, J. Scott has been, like, when I was in art school, I had all kinds of J. Scott stuff pinned up all over my art desk. Like, literally, this is the guy that I wanted to grow up to be. When I saw his first pinup in like the homage art special that they put out in like the early 90s, and he immediately popped for me. Like, you see how good he's become. Even on day one, I thought he was great. And over time, he just proved to me over and over that he was the best, like that basically there had ever been as far as I was concerned. So when Hero came up with this idea to do, double visions, what they call it, they get two artists together, which is unusual, right? You don't see this sort of thing very often when two artists jam in general. And they made a whole series of them, like we're in week 2 right now. There's an Arthur Adams, Nick Bradshaw one as well. And each week there's going to be some huge combination like that. How I got lucky enough to be paired with like my art hero, I don't know. I thank, George at Hero, or possibly J. Scott, who I've met a couple of times, who's been really, really sweet and nice to me at Comic-Cons. Maybe the combination of those two things got my name in the hat, but however it happened, thank God, I feel like I got the gift, like being able to do this.
I mean, that's so cool. Did you guys talk to each other about what you were going to do, or was it that Hero told you that these are the 2 characters we'd like to see you do, or did you just kind of have free reign?
Well, I think what it was is it's pretty, if you're going to hire, or not hire, but if you're going to ask J. Scott Campbell and David Nakayama to draw something, well, gee, what should we have them draw? Like it's probably going to be a beautiful ex-woman, right? Like what more would you want? Like that's what I'm known for, and I think what the fans really want, and I think that was borne out on the success of the image. Like, this is what fans wanted from us, and doggone it, like that's what we made. So
I mean, it's stunning, mate. I mean, I really wish I'd had a little bit of money to put in towards this. It's incredible. I'm the same as you. I had J. Scott Campbell pinned up on my wall, Todd McFarlane, all the greats, Jim Lee. They were all inspired me to be an artist myself, and yourself now, which is brilliant. So it's really nice to be sat here talking to you, and to know that you've done something with J. Scott Campbell as well is incredible. I mean, it's so cool.
Oh yeah, he's the best. Another thing I'll share is like when they ship the original art over, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a lot nervous. Let's be realistic. I'm like, what if this thing gets damaged? What if it gets destroyed? Like this thing is so valuable. And then on top of it, I'm having feelings about, I'm looking close up at the art, and it's a masterpiece, as you'd expect. Yeah. There are no whiteout marks, like at all, on the whole thing. Not only is it good, but he made no mistakes. It's like it was unbelievable to me. Like how good and effortless it seems to be.
Can you imagine if you spilt your cup of coffee on it or something?
That's exactly what I was afraid of. I'm like, what if something terrible happens? What if the rabbit eats it? These things
I've
cross
got to
my
get my
mind.
homework.
I was extra careful to not let that happen, and I shipped it back with so much unnecessary insurance, all that stuff. It was quite a little scenario.
But I mean, it shows how good you are as an artist to be able to stand next to J. Scott Campbell in this kind of artwork. You can see that you're both individual and you're both, similar, but you're both incredible and you both look like masters at what you do. And that is incredible. You can be side by side and someone can say, look, J. Scott Campbell's amazing, but look at David Nakayama. He's amazing as well. And it's nice that you're on that kind of level playing field in my eyes in this picture.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. I think that's very generous. I thought I worried that J. Scott Campbell stuff is so valuable and sought after, and I worried that would people look at my involvement as dragging it down? Would that depress the price? These are things that cross my mind. So for me, when it sold for what it did, that was very reassuring. I felt like, oh, okay, well, good. Thank God it didn't drag it down. I guess some people like my stuff. Woo!
Yeah.
It's quite inspiring, really. Jay Scott and Jim Lee and stuff. These were the people that you said obviously you looked up to, and now us, the fans, the geeks, are literally sat here saying, no, you are on that level, to work alongside them. So that's pretty inspiring, really. It's quite cool as well. I recently got the new, the Disney Store have released like an X-Men animated series kind of tribute book. And what's incredible with talking to you tonight is that, like, in that they have like a section on Jim Lee's influence on the series and whatnot, and then you get some of your work kind of popping up in there as well, and it's that's so cool that it's kind of all come full circle for you, really, thanks to women in tight clothes.
You can't go wrong,
you can't.
It's just fun, like artistically, like what is fun to look at, what is fun stories to read. I mean, these things are just built into us. So it's just to the extent that the artist can bring that out, and make that look as cool as you imagine in your head. So I'm just trying to find that,
And would you say this is your favorite piece that you've worked on out of everything you've done? What is your favorite piece, would you say?
Are you talking about the one in the X-Men book or the Campbell crossover?
In general, anything that you've done, including this, what would you say is your favorite piece throughout your career?
That's hard to say. This Campbell thing is so special and different. It feels like it exists on like a different plane than everything else. Like there's nothing else like it. I don't know if there will ever be another thing like it. You don't every day get to team up with your hero. It's just so special and different. So for what it is, it's I mean, what could be better? I can't imagine anything better. For my own stuff, it seems to change, like I right now, the way I feel is I can hardly look at stuff that I made even 3 years ago. It just feels so incomplete, and like the vision is different. And I've had a sort of a struggle artistically where I mentioned I went through video games, right? Where when you're doing art for video games, every game looks different. And so you have to learn to draw on all these different styles. And at first you think, well, that's great. Variety is a good thing. And people like that, don't they? But in comics, it's kind of works against you, because if you are both cartoony sometimes or realistic sometimes, fans will never figure out who the heck you are. It works against you. Like, so what I had to fix about my own work a few years ago is I had to come up with a style that was going to be recognizable one cover to the next. And, and what does DNA as a brand even mean? I had to figure that out. And so now that I have figured that out, I feel like that brand exists. And like, you look at one cover and it'll, you'll know it's by me, and, so the next one, and that's all working. But that's why it's hard for me to look at the old stuff. And so when you ask, like, what is my favorite cover? Well, it's probably something in the last 3 years, because it's hard to look at the old stuff. but it changes all the time, and it's so based on like people's reaction too. You know, like you might have thought you did the best cover in the world, but then everyone's like meh, and you know, this other thing comes out and they love it. And now you love it more because they loved it. So I don't know. I guess the short answer is it changes all the time.
I mean, this one here is obviously the latest one that's coming out, and it ties in just for Valentine's Day as well. But this is incredible. This is incredible.
Great. I'm glad you liked it. I was shocked that no one had done this before. You know, like it's like the classic love triangle thing, but no one's homaged it. You know, not just with Spider-Man, but hardly anyone has homaged this one. And you know, you look out there at the landscape of comic book covers, and there's some things that have been homaged 300 times.
Yeah.
But not this one ever. So I was like, yes, let's do it. Let's do this finally. And what better than Spider-Man and his love triangle?
Well, I've got a suggestion for a follow-up one to this, David. I think you should have Jean Grey in the middle with Wolverine and Cyclops either side. That's what I want to see.
Well, so that effect. You know,
here's what he made earlier.
I'm nervous now.
we've
it's a classic.
There we go. Where's it gone? Let's get them back.
There
we
go. Look at these by now, I think. But this
Fantastic.
was another. This is actually tying like everything we've been talking about today. This is an homage. This is a J. Scott homage. This is a X-Men love triangle. This is like everything in one cover series.
That's incredible.
So we love doing these. I guess high concept covers, if you want to call it that. One time,
some of your lesser known kind of or more obscure characters recently was you did a Modok cover for I think it was Head Games. I absolutely love it.
Oh, thanks.
Modok's just got so much character to him, and I'm really excited for the TV series to come out. This Head Games book is fantastic if people haven't read it yet. You know, there's so much character there to kind of be explored. So, yeah, I think, I don't know how, but you've kind of almost made him endearing and yet still psychopathic and evil, which pretty much is Modok for me as a fan. So, yeah, it's some good work there.
Thank you for noticing. Yeah, this was a real no-brainer because it's Patton Oswalt, you know, like one of my favorite comedians ever. I was buying his CDs, you know, not to date myself too much, but like he used to put out his comedy routines on physical CDs, and they'd sell them at Best Buy, and I'd buy them that way.
What's the CD?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's my 8-track. It's him co-writing this with the other showrunner, whose name is Jordan Bloom or Blum. I think it's Bloom. Those two guys are actually writing this comic, and it comes out like right before their show. How cool is that? You know, and they're also really good writers. So yeah, very happy to sign on for a cover. And MODOK is this interesting character where like I think most people when they first see it, they're like, "Ooh, that's weird. That's not for me. I don't like it." But the longer you're in comics, the more you like MODOK, right? Is this not true? Like,
I think that's true.
Yeah. Now I love MODOK. He's so weird and comic-y, and like you were saying before, I find that his personality and like this sort of is he cute or is he gross? I'm not sure. Somewhere in the middle. Like he's got this smarmy expression. Like there's so much fun you can have with this.
I think I relate to that element of him.
You beat me to it, mate. I was going to say that.
But I think obviously these are incredible pieces of art, and you can see across the board that comic book covers have evolved from years ago to what they are now. Like these are like masterful pieces of painting artwork. They're incredible. Now it's clear to see that your artwork is very distinct. Is there any like key points that you focus on when doing these illustrations? Is it the be all and end of you always start with that, or is there variations of how you're feeling about the comic book?
You know, as a matter of fact, there was this panel that we did at, I think, MegaCon or one of the bigger cons a couple years ago. And it was the art of the cover panel. And J. Scott Campbell was on it with me and Greg Land. And it was one of the first times I really got to talk to him a lot. And the whole point of the panel was what makes a good cover, which is the question you're asking. And to me, I think it's, it's a combination of many things, but the more of them you can get into one cover, kind of the better it is as a cover. So what am I talking about? There has to be focus, right? Like there has to be probably one major anchor image. Don't get me wrong, like an Arthur Adams, like everybody in the kitchen sink cover is nothing better than that. I love that to death. But in general, the rule of thumb is, a piece of, a focus character. Then there has to be some storytelling in it. Like if it's just one guy punching the other, we've seen that so many times it has no meaning anymore. So there has to be some storytelling. There might be like a pop culture reference, like if you anything you can do to make the viewer go, oh yeah, I know that thing, or make them laugh, if there's some humor in it, that will engage the viewer. If it's sexy, that will engage the viewer. So there's sort of these categories they can go through about how can I make this appealing and compelling to the, to whoever's looking at the art. And that's before you even get to the draftsmanship. Like obviously, whether it's well drawn or not matters, but I think way before you get to that part, the concept of it and why people care about it is probably more important. People will, how shareable this thing is. Like, why is someone going to care about this cover? Is it going to make them talk to their friends about it, share it on social media? How can you get them to do that? So that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about when I'm making any cover. But the more of those you can get in one, obviously, the more shareable and interesting it is, I think.
What an amazing...
So sexy, funny, and with a pop culture reference then. Right.
So I'm killing it. I'm good.
I mean, what comics are you reading at the moment? If you've actually got time to read any, do you find yourself sometimes just chilling out thinking, I'm actually going to read a comic?
Yeah, I love comics, so I try to read what I can. I really like any of the Jonathan Hickman X-Men stuff, particularly, when House of X, Powers of 10, I guess they say. That stuff blew my mind. And even since then, I think the Dawn of X stuff has been very good. I've kept up with X-Men and Marauders and some of those titles. I'm also really back into Walking Dead when they started doing Walking Dead Deluxe in color.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool. I've been reading a lot of DC stuff as well, just because like I kind of bounce around based more on the creative teams more than characters. That matters much more to me. So if something has an amazing cover, that might be enough for me to buy that book. And then I might just be reading that book just because I bought it. I may as well read it, right?
Yeah.
But I think those are the ones that spring to mind right now. What are you guys liking?
Well, we've got Andy from Perpetual Comics who was meant to join us tonight, but apparently he's got a severe case of the man flu. And
Rest in peace, Andy.
We're doing the review show after this, and he got us to try and read Scouts Honor 2. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to read that, but I heard the other two said it was a great comic, so I feel like I missed out on that one.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I'll have to look for it.
Yeah, but after this, we'll basically be doing an hour's stream of us just whinging about comics. So you've had us positive for 50 minutes, which is 50 minutes more than we've ever been positive. I've got to say as well, David, because I'm cautious that we are coming to an end soon. But we were talking earlier about your color bleed covers, and I had an idea, right? Colossus, who is one of my favorite characters of all times, but make it a shiny foily cover.
Oh yeah!
Oh my gosh! Come on, Marvel!
Oh, how cool would that be? Yeah, it's so rare when you get to do like a 1990s gimmick cover these days. But if we could make the background all foil stamping and just have the areas that aren't metal.
Mate.
Wow!
I'll make some calls.
Oh, I feel like I'm gonna have to go and speak to Unknown in street level about this one.
That'd be a winner. That'd be really special. And who better to do it with than a guy made out of metal? I can't think of another character that would work better with that.
Oh, yeah. Ben, you beat me to it, mate. I was going to suggest something similar, but that was better.
And you also asked another question, David, going back to like the conventions and stuff like that. When the pandemic is over, will you be attending any conventions in the UK or Ireland?
Oh God, I hope so. I mean, like literally the top of my list for years and years has been UK or Ireland. One of the reasons that I connected with Kirby's is they think they can get me to some of the bigger shows there, which has been on my agenda for a long time. I tried, the plan was back when we could do them. I was trying to get myself around the country, but then also around the world, a couple stops each year in different countries as well. And it's been a long time since I went to anything in the UK. Years and years ago, when City of Heroes was a thing, we came over and did a special show for City of Heroes fans. It was like a mini comic convention, but you would have to have been a City of Heroes fan to even know about it. I have never done an actual comic show in the UK. I think it's crazy. It's way overdue. Wow. So, and it would have definitely happened already this year if it wasn't for the stupid pandemic. So, yes, again.
Well, you got 3 beers in at the bar for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Wait, from me as well?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'll put you in there, mate. I'm sorry.
No, I can't afford that.
I don't know if Andy will be able to make it with the man flu, but hopefully he can. Hopefully he's well by then. But obviously, David, I know you're very busy and you've got stuff because it's the first thing in the morning there, so you've got a day ahead of you. But I mean, after everything, is there any advice that you would like to give, like any artists out there, like either that are starting out or that have been involved and have been knocked back by the pandemic? Is there anything that you would kind of just say, go with it? And
you'll have heard this advice before, but it's really true. If you look at me and how long it's taken me to figure it out and learn how to do this, I'm not Joe Madureira. I didn't get it right away and was doing comics when I was a teenager. That is not me. I've been on a much longer path, slowly getting better over the course of years, even decades. And so if you like what I'm doing now, it didn't happen overnight. It really is all about practice. And if you are the person who has the willpower, to just stick with it, eventually you get there. I feel like that's what I am actually an example of, is just like the stick-to-itness of trying to get better bit by bit over a really long period of time. So if you're a new artist, that's really it. There's no substitute for, those 10,000 hours it takes to get good at anything. Yeah, I'm 42, and I've been.
You don't look it.
Right?
Hawaii sun.
It's those Asian.
Tom, you're such a flirt.
I'm sorry, I can't help it.
Well, if you're Asian, supposedly, you look really young up until you're 8, and then you just age into your 200s. Absolutely ancient at some point, but not yet.
Oh, but guys, have you got any other questions before we let David get on with his day?
Ben?
No, I mean, I just, thank you so much for taking the time today. And, as I said a few minutes ago, I think your story is as inspiring as they come in terms of, comic book artists and creators and stuff. So it's, it's been great to have you on. And hopefully, when conventions start again, the UK, we don't really have a proper comic book convention at the moment. We have big kind of anime focused conventions and conventions that are focused on movie stars and TV stars. So I'm an old timer. 10 years ago, we did used to have some pretty cool, comic book focused conventions. So hopefully they will come around again and we can have you over. And if you can sleep on my sofa or something.
Sleep on my sofa.
Thank you very much. No, I'd absolutely love to come out as soon as we can possibly make it happen. I'm, the moment I get vaccinated and it's starting to look like it's over, I'm going to have Kirby's get right on that for me.
No, but honestly, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you from last year, arranging this and everything and leading up to it. I know you're busy, so thank you for taking the time out to spend with us 3 guys here. It's been great having you on. Hope everyone's enjoyed it in the chat. But yeah, thank you once again, David. Thank you so much.
Oh, definitely my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on your show and for the kind words. And I'm just really grateful that you're following the art and enjoying it. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. Hope to talk to you there.
Here's another 70,000 to you on Instagram.
Yeah.
See you later.
Cheers.